In this episode of the Christian Philosopher, we'll talk about 2 ways the mind can know about God according to St. Thomas Aquinas. Welcome back, everyone. Scott Sullivan here from the Aquinas School of Theology and Philosophy. I'm doing a series of videos on wisdom, knowing the highest things. According to the great philosopher St. Thomas Aquinas, I've been talking a lot about wisdom. And I said that an important part of being a wise person, as Aquinas says, is understanding the order of things, especially the order of the highest things, the universe itself. That is the divine order. When you can understand this, man, you know the highest things. It makes you a wise person. So we're talking about knowing about God, knowing about His order of the universe, where it all comes from, where it's all going. These are the higher things. These are the topics of the philosopher, the person seeking wisdom. Okay, so this brings up the question is, if we're going to know about this kind of higher order, God's wisdom, right? How do we know about God? How can the human mind learn anything about God? Well, Aquinas talks about this in his work, the Summa Contra Gentiles. This is in book 1, chapter 3. Aquinas talks about the 2 ways the human mind can know truth about God. And he says that there are 2 truths, two kinds of truths regarding what we can know about God. 2 ways we can know the truth about God, in other words. Number 1, there are truths about God that surpass human reason. There are truths about God that are beyond our knowledge. They surpass human reason. Some things are true about God, he says, that wholly surpass the capabilities of human reason. For example, the Trinity, that God is both 3 and 1. It's a mystery. We can get our minds around kind of part of it, but man, the majority of that is just beyond human comprehension. So if we're going to know these kinds of truths about God, since they're beyond human reason, we have to believe these things just based on faith, on what God has revealed to us. These are the kinds of truths, they're above human reason, so we have to know them on belief, on faith. These are the things that we cover in theology, that which can be known about God through an act of faith. That's one kind of truth about God. One way the human mind can know about God. The second way are truths about God that reason can obtain. There are some things, though, about God that our reason can get a hold of. You know what I mean? There are truths about God, Aquinas says, that our natural reason can obtain, right? For example, knowing that God exists, knowing that He is one, and things like this. There aren't a whole lot of those things compared to the other, because God is infinite, and there's the majority of God we can't know surpasses the reason. But there are some things that we can know about God that come within the capacity of our human reason. These things, Aquinas says, can be shown by philosophy. This is the realm of philosophical truths. These are the things that philosophers can know about God, using our reason alone, apart from the gift of faith. So, there are truths about God that are above human reason. We know those based on faith. There are truths about God that fall within the grasp of human reason. This is the realm of philosophy, you see. Okay, so, and then Aquinas says, we shouldn't be surprised about this. We can know a little bit about God with our reason, but not the rest of the stuff. This should not be surprising, Aquinas says. One of the reasons why is because when we want to know something, Aquinas says, when we want to know something, you want to know what it is. We have to know what it is. Otherwise, we don't know what we're talking about, right? So if I want to know about a fly, I have to know the essence of a fly, what a fly is. You see? So our knowledge really aims at grasping the essence or the whatness of something. You see, that's what we do when we learn about things. And so if you can't know the essence of something, you ain't there. You don't really know it, okay? And the problem is we can't know God's essence. God's essence is infinite. Our minds are finite. You see, it's a problem. We can't know the essence of God. We can't know what he is. We can show with reason that he is, that he exists, Aquinas says, but we can't really comprehend what he is. There's just too much there in the divine infinity. One of the problems, Aquinas says, is that our human intelligence begins with sense experience. We begin our learning process, our intellectual process, that all starts in the beginning from sense experience. Using our eyes and using our senses to learn about the world. And we can do a lot of stuff with that, but our knowledge starts with created things and a sensible thing, like things that we can see. And God's not the kind of thing we can see. God is a spirit. He's not an object of our sense experience. So there's an incongruity right there. You see. Now, from our sense experience, Aquinas says, we can learn about things, the physical world. We can also learn universal principles of being, like the principle of causality. And then we can kind of reason to the existence of God, but we hit kind of a block. We know that God exists, but we can't fully grasp his essence, okay? Our reason can tell us that God is, but it cannot comprehend what God is, you see. So for this reason, human intellect is incapable of comprehending the divine essence. Aquinas gives us another example why this should be kind of easy to see. It's based on the degrees of intellects. Take, for example, the mind of an angel, right? An angel, okay? The mind of an angel far surpasses the mind of a man, by far. Aquinas says, as a matter of fact, this is interesting. Aquinas says the angelic intellect surpasses the human intellect more than the intellect of the wisest philosopher surpasses the intellect of an idiot. That's the word he uses, idiota. Okay? So angels are far smarter than we are, more so than the smartest human is over an idiot, by comparison. And so for this reason, angels know a lot more about God than we do. They're smarter than us. They can know more about God than we do. But then God's intellect is way beyond, in fact, infinitely beyond the intellect of an angel. Right? God knows himself far better than any angel. And angels are finite still. They're way better than us, but they're still finite. They're not infinite beings like God. And so they get a better grasp of what God is, but again, not complete. Not as good as God's grasp of himself, you see. So God knows his own essence perfectly. So this is important, okay? Aquinas says, just like it would be ridiculous if a fool says, you can't really believe that philosophy stuff about God because me, the fool, I can't understand it. Right? That would be ridiculous, right? And so in the same way, even more so, he says, it would be extremely foolish for a man to say, there cannot be things that are true about God that are above my reason. Sometimes unbelievers say that. If it doesn't fall within the realm of reason, they don't say it's just beyond them. They say it's false. And this is what Aquinas is rejecting. There are truths that are above human reason. They're above the potential grasp of our intellect. So it's reasonable to think, Aquinas says, that even though that we can know some things about God through our reason, there's always going to be a whole lot more that we just don't know and never will. Okay? In fact, Aquinas says we can see the deficiency of our own knowledge just in looking at the things of this world. There's so much to this world yet that we haven't learned, so much that science hasn't yet discovered. We're not done knowing the fullness of this world, let alone the fullness of God. You see. So, borrowing an analogy from Aristotle, Aquinas says the human intellect trying to grasp God is kind of like the eye of a bat trying to see the sun. Right? It's not that the sun's not visible. The sun is perfectly visible. It's very bright. The problem is on the eye of the bat. It can't handle all that brightness, right? In the same way, God is perfectly intelligible in himself. He's pure actuality, pure infinite being, infinite truth, right? Purely intellectually bright. The problem is that our intellect can't handle all that existence. It can't handle all that infinite essence, you see. So the problem, just like it lies on the side of the bat's eye and not the sun, the problem here with our knowledge, trying to comprehend God's essence, the problem lies in our finite intellects, not on the part of God. So the point here in this part of Aquinas' work is this, that just because there are truths about God that are above human reason, that does not mean they are false. Just because there are truths about God that are above human reason, that doesn't mean that they are false. We can still even know these things by faith, just believe it because God said it, right? But we can't immediately reject these things as false just because we can't understand them, as many unbelievers say.